Real quickly on the penology issue,
Sure.
how do you obviously on a university campus, someone's going to come up to you and say, "Do you think it is just that God's law said this?"
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, Leviticus 20, homosexuals stoning.
Right.
That's the big one. Um, how do you deal with that?
So the I would do in two steps. I would answer the person and say, first, answer me this: do you think that it's just that over 1 million prisoners are incarcerated today in dog kennel cages? Is that just? Well, that's man's law, right? So don't come up to me saying, "Oh, there might be this negative thing that might happen." There are negative things happening right now on a grand scale, and you're not and you're fine with it. You're not protesting or you're bothering me. So that's the first thing is look at what your people are doing. Look at what your system, your penitentiary system, is currently doing. Is there a need for prison reform? Look at secular penology. That's the first thing. So and then in conservative circles, there'll be people who say you should have the death penalty for drug smuggling, and people are worried about the death penalty for homosexuality, and they're not afraid to advocate for the death penalty for drug smuggling, and they don't mind the death penalty just so long as no biblical case could be made for it, right? So but then if they turn around and say, okay, your point taken, we've got some things to answer. Now, would you answer my question about what do you believe about the Bible teaching about penology and punishments and whatnot? I would say in Scripture, you've got corporal punishment, beaten with rods, you've got execution, you've got fines, and you've got exile, banishment. Those are you don't have a penitentiary system. And one of the things that would happen if we adopted a biblical approach to these things is that the first thing we'd find is out of those penalties that are assigned, they are maximum penalties, not minimum penalties. So for example, David committed adultery, which was a capital crime. David committed murder, which is a capital crime, but he was not executed. Asa and Jehoshaphat conducted reforms where they basically closed all the bathhouses, and they exiled the Sodomites, Asa and Jehoshaphat both, and are commended for being godly kings, and they executed no one. There's no executions mentioned anywhere, but they were reformers, and they cleaned up the city. So I believe that there are circumstances under which someone could receive that penalty. If we brought that penalty across, there would be circumstances where that would be applied. Okay, let's say a priest and young boys, right? There are certain offenses that in the modern era simply get you transferred to another diocese, and I think in a godly system would be solved with a tall tree and a short rope.
Tall tree and a short rope. But that would require Christian judges.
Right. And
Right.
Christian laws, and Christian theologians reasoning through the laws, and us having the humility to postpone acting on any of these things until we made sure that the exegesis was right. We want to do our work carefully. And one of the things that the history of the Christian church shows is that many people have assumed on a cursory reading that they knew exactly what God was requiring. And I think we need to be a lot more careful when it comes to issues of coercion, penalties. I think we have to triple check, quadruple check our exegesis.